But there is no question that the Jews represent, let's say, about 6 to 7 million in America. They represent the highest strata of the highest percentage of the richest people, the most influential people. Madoff, you've heard of Bernard Madoff. He's just the only one. There are many more. And then, of course, they're extremely strong, particularly in this opinion-making industry, or what we call, we don't want to use the word propaganda, I will use the academic word conceptualization, because most of our concepts, most of our imagery that we use in the daily life are certainly originate in Jewish American circles. Now, here I'm coming to the major point. I'm not making here some stupid anti-Semitic statements, because I reject anti-Semitism, and I'm saying this not as a form of disclaimer. I think that anti-Semitism is a form of neurosis, and I'll tell you why. I think it's silly in the first place. We have to ask ourselves a rhetorical question. How come that a few Jewish intellectuals, even in Obama's environment, in his suite, his coterie, you have very important Jews, like this, what is this guy? Not Emmanuel, but Emmanuel is his name. He is actually a Jewish citizen, Israeli citizen as well. And but the point is that we need to ask ourselves, how is it possible that such a small percentage of people, and we mentioned them earlier, have so much clout, so much influence, not just in daily politics, but in our imagery, in our way of dressing and talking to each other, and so on and so forth. Est-ce que je parle trop vite, non? Well, the easiest thing is to say that it's the Jews, you see what I mean? But if we tell them, if we say that it's the Jews, then we give them extra credit. So why should we give them some extraterrestrial credit which they don't have? So we have to ask ourselves, it's not them, it's us. So something is wrong with us in the first place. Consider that what I just said. So it's not the Jews, it's rather the Gentiles or Goyims or whatever, who basically bow to their pressure, but it's a very special type of a psychological game going on. And I hate to say that, but we now have to come to the major point of my short discussion, which is American political theology. We have to look at the American political theology, the theologie politique des Américains. This is something which is being avoided. Not so much here in Europe, because there are some excellent scholars who wrote about this, but in America you will barely hear that. Here and there sometimes some excellent good scholars will talk about American political theology. I will just make a little digression to illustrate that figuratively. A friend of ours, a friend of mine, Robert Stoikers, used the expression l'américanisme, the Americanism, is basically the combination of engineer and prédicateur, engineer and preacher. So on the one hand, this is something which I still find striking, despite the fact that I'm there, that I live there. On the one hand, they have this excellent Promethean spirit of truly fighting and going through Alaska. You can get people together, young people, they're extremely well organized, so don't underestimate them. But on the other hand, they have this exceptional sense which we find in Europe very bizarre, and I'm sure you found that bizarre. Moralism, hyper-moralism. They constantly moralize. How to make sex, how to make love, how to smoke jobs, how to make good democracy in the Balkans, how to transport good democracy in Georgia, in Abkhazia, how to bring democracy to Timoshenko, how to bring democracy to Putin. They constantly moralize. You understand what I mean by moral? So we have to take this into account. I may have probably sidetracked my main issue, but the reason I'm using this figure is because we have to keep in mind that the Bible, particularly the Old Testament, and this hyper-moralism and legalism, which comes from particularly the Old Testament, is crucial in understanding American foreign policy, or for that matter, what we call imperialism. Look, some of you will say quite correctly that Americans go to Iraq because there is lots of oil, okay? And that, for instance, the Americans are interested in Abkhazia, or for that matter in Kazakhstan, what is this place? To Uzbekistan, because it has a geopolitical value for it. This is all fine. I'm not disputing that. Then we shall say also that the Americans went to whatever, Kosovo, because Kosovo is in the center of the Balkans, and it's like a link between the Eastern Mediterranean and Central Europe. You know, you can speculate about this endlessly, and these are all valid points, and I'm not going to dispute that. Can you follow me on that? But the main issue, the main motive behind is to make the world safe for democracy. They have this concept of chosenness. You know what I mean, chosenness? That they inherited from Jews in the first place. America is basically, metaphorically speaking, at least by the new political elites, it is viewed as an extension of Israel. Not that Israel is the 51st state of America. This is what people keep talking about. It's rather the opposite. America is the first state of Israel, but in an extended way. So in order to understand their quote-unquote economic endeavors, so geopolitical ties, there is always this bottom line of political theology, which is centered in the Bible. It is the good doing in democracy. Let's make the world safe for democracy. We have this ultimate reason to cleanse the world from all the evil, from bad folks, from those bad archetypes. 100 years ago, these were the bad communists, the bad Bolsheviks. Then 70 years ago, these were the bad Nazis, the bad crowds, right? And now what we have, they ran out. There are no more bad crowds. There are no more bad communists. There are no more Nazis. Germany is like a small country, neutral. Now they have to find who? The bad Islamists, you see. So they have to come up with something, because otherwise the country cannot function well. This is called in psychology, in political psychology, negative identity. L'identité négative. You search for a negative guy, for evil, in order to legitimize your own identity, your own existence. If you see what I'm saying. There are lots of books on it, and I'm just making a summary. I'm not saying that this is my monopoly. I can give you a nice literature of books, both on the left and the right. You can find in my bibliography. But basically, this is something that you need to understand. Because Americans are not hypocrites. That's wrong. That's totally wrong. They consider themselves victims. Do you understand what I mean? They think that they have this cosmic reason that why they need to provide democracy, be it in Iraq, or for that matter, be it anywhere else. How they do it, it's differently. And why I'm saying this? Because they have this ultimate, let me find a better word, they have this intrinsic idea that they have to serve the cause of the God. Now, America is a very secular country. Understand what I mean, secular. Secular. It's not a religious country, but it's a transposition of the Bible in a modern and post-modernity. So if we use paradigms, or if we use cliches, if we use analysis of the 16th or 17th century, we will not understand what's going on now. You have to put things in a larger perspective. Americans do not have the sense of the sacred, as for instance the Europeans do, but they have the sense of religion. Anyway, I don't want to go too much into that. But keep in mind, whichever government is in power in Washington, they will have to stick with Israel, because Israel is like a mascot. It's like what do you call it? Like an alter ego. You can say all Americans are Ersatzjuden. You understand what I mean? They are all ersatz, substitute Jews, in a positive or negative sense. And here again, that's why I often quarrel with my friends, even colleagues, who claim to be anti-Semites or who make anti-Semitic statements. I keep telling them, look guys, are you crazy? Why are you criticizing many Americans that I know of? They're very good people, fantastic folks. But on the other hand, they're so much obsessed with this biblical message, and yet on the other they hate the Jews. It just doesn't make sense. Just try to stay above it. Try to stay aloft a little bit. Move beyond this love and hate type of a relationship with Jews.